Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Today's episode is a little bit different than my usual because I want to do sort of a state of the channel, kind of an address to wrap up the entire year. And I'm going to be giving you some inside baseball regarding the channel, how it came about, how long I've been doing this, and even some of the revenue that the channel's produced. I'm hoping that this answers some of these questions that I've gotten from some of you audience members, and I hope it helps some of you creators and potential creators out there as well. By the way, while I talk today, I am going to be working on disassembly of a future project for the channel, which is a 2002 Squier Bullet Strat, and it's an Affinity model. I'm going to be doing some upgrades of this in a future episode, so I'm basically doing disassembly today because I think you probably realize by now that I hate being on camera. So to start out with, how did this channel come about? Well, I started a side business in mid-April 2023 for the purposes of building guitars, doing guitar setups and repairs and similar projects. And it's something I've done on and off for quite some time now. I've never really been a great player, but I do enjoy being around music equipment and the history of all the music equipment and everything like that. So this is just kind of my thing. It's always been a hobby. Anyway, around 2022, the US government started to put limits on how much an individual could sell on platforms like eBay or take payments through platforms like Venmo or PayPal. So I started to worry that every time I sold a guitar personally, that I would get charged tax on things if I made more than $600 or even just had $600 of sales. Long story short, I ended up starting a business so that I could, even if I didn't make any money, show some expenses as compared to my sales, and that's what's kind of allowed me to do what I've been doing here recently. In the process, it allows me the side benefit of getting my hands on a lot of different kinds of equipment and being able to work on a lot of different things. And yeah, maybe I lose some in taxes, but at least I am able to show those expenses so that not everything looks like just a pure profit sale. And as a side benefit, I enjoy all the work that I get to do here on the channel most of the time. Now, since I had become an official business last year, I decided to start a YouTube channel about, I don't know, it was probably a month into this, to see if anybody else had an interest in what I was doing. And I've largely treated my business and my YouTube channel as separate projects because they intertwine, but obviously I do get into personal projects on this channel as well. So that's essentially where the name of this channel comes from, because it's a bit business and pleasure. I don't make a fortune flipping or parting out guitars, and some of the parts or the money that I do make often ends up going into the guitars on this channel. So it's mostly something I do to pass the time. So anyway, to get back to the YouTube channel, I don't know if most of you are aware of this, but you can't even make $1 off of a YouTube channel until you get to 1,000 subscribers. And that rule was different for a time for shorts creators, and I think it's probably changed since. So I can't really speak to the rules around shorts, but for long form creators like me, it takes a significant amount of time for most of us to reach that level. For me, I hit that point around May or June of this year after I'd produced over 100 episodes and well over 24 hours of content, which if you think about it is multiple seasons worth of many standard TV shows. But chronologically, it took me about 13 or 14 months to get to 1,000 subscribers, which as I'm watching other YouTube videos that other creators like me have created, that seems like it's about an average time. Now, in the run up to 1,000 subscribers, I was able to monetize somewhat by adding some Amazon links to my videos and descriptions, but that didn't and really hasn't made much of a dent, but I'll focus more on some of that later. Overall, the channel is growing. I've added probably 800 more subscribers since June, and while that is slightly faster growth, it's not leaps and bounds over what I was getting. It's definitely not exponential. I think if I wanted to step out in front of the camera a bit more and treat this like a full-time gig, I could probably make a bit more revenue. But keep in mind, I also have a full-time job and I have a family, so my time is divided. And again, the point of this episode is to give part-time creators like me an idea of what to expect. Certainly, I'm under no illusions that I'm the most dynamic or the most exciting host out there, but I'm fairly happy with what I've been able to do in the way that I've been able to achieve it. So you're probably asking by now, what kind of revenue does this channel produce? Well, I'll show you the actual numbers. So ad revenue depends on views. So let's take a look at those first. In June of this year, I think my daily views were around 400. Absent a few peaks, my daily view count has grown somewhat steadily over the past 6 months or so, and it's now closer to 800. Again, not explosive growth, but that should be a pretty realistic view to set expectations for a beginning creator. Now with that level of views since June, this channel has produced about $400 of actual revenue. Yeah, that's right. Only about $400. So for the most part, that revenue comes from the ads that you see before and after each episode. A very, very small percentage of that comes from shorts and YouTube premium viewers. And just for awareness, about 5% of the overall comes from Amazon referrals. Again, I could push those harder, but I don't want the channel to come off like an Amazon ad. And for a long time, I exclusively used skippable ads on my content just because I didn't want to annoy people with ads. But I now use a combination of both skippable and non-skippable ads for a little bit better revenue. And on some of my high demand videos, I have leveraged ads that are not skippable at all. So hopefully that gives you an idea of what you can achieve with a similar strategy. I think if I were to apply certain other strategies like using exclusively non-skippable ads and trying to attract more viewers in other ways, potentially that revenue would be higher. So for that massive amount of revenue that we're talking about, what kind of time does this actually take me to do? I've varied from producing multiple episodes a week to around one a week, and then a little bit less during this holiday season. So maybe the best way to describe that is per episode. A typical episode is somewhere around 10 to 15 minutes. And by the way, if you wonder why that is, it's because my average viewer duration is around 4 minutes. So I've tried to balance fitting in the actual content that I record and the length of episode that I think the audience can or will digest. I've even considered trying to go down to 8 minutes, but I'm pretty happy with where things stand at the moment. So anyway, for a 15-minute episode, I probably spend on average 3 or 4 hours working on a guitar, basically recording during that time. And I probably spend 1 to 2 hours editing footage, writing descriptions, and uploading content. And I won't muddy the waters by adding in any time that I spend buying and selling guitars for parts, which is significant, but that's really more my business than it is the channel. So let's use the average of about 5 hours per episode and say that I've produced a little more than 40 episodes since June. And if we call that 200 hours, you can see I've made a whopping $2 an hour from the channel. And while it's true that I will continue to get revenue off of all of my content over time, in reality, it's very few videos that actually have staying power. And most of them don't turn out like my jazz bass setup video or some of my quick tips, which do have some long-term earnings potential. But essentially it takes a lot of attempts to find a small number of videos that will be long-term winners. Now for you creators, it's worth mentioning what I have avoided doing for my own reasons that probably actually do end up hurting my revenue a little bit. And as I've already said, I've avoided stepping in front of the camera and making that quote-unquote YouTube face in an effort to attract viewers. I've also avoided making highly stylized thumbnails, which are the pictures that appear when my videos are suggested to viewers on YouTube. I've avoided using too many camera angles because that adds time in editing. And I've also avoided investing in any expensive video editing software. And also, I've avoided scripting too many of my episodes or even adding any catchy titles or overly simplified titles in an effort to grab viewers' eyes in the search listings. At the rates that I'm going, I'd rather be a bit more sure of the return on investment before I do some of these things or spend money or time on them. I mean, I'm willing to speculate to make more revenue, of course, but the data needs to show me that the potential upside is actually there. So more than likely, you'll see me try some of those strategies once or twice, and then I'll compare the actual data results. So speaking of all of that, you're probably wondering what's next for the channel. So in the immediate future, I'll be taking a couple of YouTube suggestions and theming some episodes toward common searches. So this guitar that I've been tinkering with during this episode has been one of those because apparently several people search for Squier Affinity upgrades. I'm planning at least this one and probably one other, and they'll be minor losers for me on the business side of this thing, but hopefully they'll generate some YouTube views. So it's kind of a trade-off in my business, as you can probably see. So also in the new year, I'm going to attempt to use something other than iMovie to do my editing, and we'll see whether that can increase the quality of my videos in general. and it may even allow me to add some more camera angles. If you've been a follower of mine for a while, you'll know that I have invested in a better camera and microphone, so I'm not opposed to investments like that, but I have to know before I make them that they actually make sense. And finally, I know that one other thing I'll attempt in the new year is to try at least one other video platform, so we'll have to see how that goes. For those of you who follow me here, that really won't mean a whole lot to you, because these other platforms are really a way to try to grab some more viewers, maybe attract some new people and get a little bit more revenue. And of course, it'll give me a lot more to talk about this time next year when I do another one of these videos. So while I dig into this guitar some more and I start to order some parts for an upcoming episode, I'm just going to sign off for now and wish you guys a happy holidays. Look for some content around this one and another Affinity in the upcoming year. And of course, the easiest way for you to find out about that is to subscribe to my channel. I appreciate all the likes, comments, subscriptions, and any of you that are using my Amazon links, and I'll see you guys next time. Thanks a lot.